and how that experience affected them. Mark? Thanks, Mark.
Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here with you. I'm looking for a presentation. There we go. Okay, so it's great to be here with you to share our Without Borders story. It's a story of how zombies came into being. It's a story about how our studio has grown. It's a story about how we shed borders with our fans as developers. In 2008, some of you might know, we released a game called Call of Duty World at War. And it contained then a completely unknown unlock Easter egg, Zombies mode. And of course, that's now a signature component of our brand of Call of Duty. But at the time, nobody knew about it. And it came at this really interesting time when you had all these other great zombies forms from other mediums entering, and zombies was kind of experiencing a kind of renaissance. So I think it also landed in an interesting time for Treyarch, because that was a time when we were kind of grown as a studio inside the franchise. And my hope is that as I share with you some of the stories about how it came into being, it can help you shed or help you find your own world without borders. So I like to joke that zombies was just all heart. And it was probably also no brains, because it's probably a setup for how not to manage a project, certainly how not to manage a major franchise. And when you really think about it, Call of Duty Zombies shouldn't exist. Let me provide some context. 2008 was weighted with high expectations, right? It's coming off the critically acclaimed Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare from Infinity Ward. And at the time, that game was by far and away the biggest game in our franchise that we had ever seen. So while the move to the modern era was absolutely heralded, it would be Treyarch's turn the following year, and we were set to make a game again inside of World War II. And that made some on the development team creatively very restless. Now, up until this point, as some of you may remember, Treyarch was best known not for its work on Call of Duty, of course, but on our work in the Spider-Man franchise. But in fact, Call of Duty World at War would be Treyarch's third World War II Call of Duty game, with many of us having even worked on more than that. It was also a really turbulent time in the studio's history as we were evolving and changing. Our identity and cultures were clashing and blending on incredibly short and demanding Call of Duty development cycles. World at War, however, would be our first shot at a 2-year development cycle in the franchise. And up until this point, I think it's safe to say that we were still struggling to find our voice and establish our identity inside the franchise. Despite the experience on the team, I think it's fair to say that we still lacked enough confidence. All right. So we wanted World at War to be a turning point for our studio. We wanted to establish our house style and our rightful place in the franchise with this game. To start with, we were determined to make a very different kind of Call of Duty and World War II game. We wanted to lean into the darkness and the brutality of war with rich story and characters that were angry and filled with vengeance, and what would become the grittiest game, what we felt would be the grittiest World War II game in the franchise. Now, if I were to frame up the overall development, World at War was really difficult by any standard. It had a lot of new technology that we were dealing with for the first time, a lot of new design challenges. And without going into all the gory details, in the second year of our development, the team was definitely stressed, behind schedule, and crunching hard. I know this is a story none of you are familiar with out here in the audience. So you can imagine my surprise when I learned that a small team, under these circumstances, started taking the co-op work that we were making for the game and started prototyping new modes for the game. And you can imagine my surprise again when I found out a little bit later that this team that had been noodling around started prototyping a Nazi zombies mode, completely at a grassroots level, and then finding out that, like, people from other departments hearing about it started pitching in. Totally at a grassroots level. So let's review. We got a tough development. The team is working with new technology. We're behind schedule. The team is crunched. Late stage innovation, unapproved, unplanned, unscheduled, definitely ungreenlit work. Business expectations were for the best-selling game of the season, in an established franchise, and zombies at this point, they're clearly off-brand. I remember the first time I heard about it, I was like, we're what? Now, as a studio head who's ultimately responsible for delivering to our publishing and our business partners, the classic management thing, the right thing to do, the reasonable thing could have been to just insist that the team stop getting distracted, focus on delivering what we'd already signed up and that we were already behind on delivering. And there were some inside the leadership in the studio that I felt that I needed to do and make that decision right then, or totally jeopardize the development. I almost did, in what certainly would have probably been one of the biggest mistakes of my career. Fortunately, I calmed down just enough. Still work on that every day of my life, to play it before I make a decision. These guys have made something, let's play it. I don't want to make a decision purely based on emotion, as insane as it sounds. So I asked to play an early version of it, which I had to do this at a programmer's desk because, of course, it wasn't in my build. So I go to the programmer's desk and I sit down and I play it. And it didn't take me long to see why everyone was so excited about it. It was really easy to get into. It beautifully leveraged the core gameplay and shooter mechanics. And the skill-based design, it begged you to play it again, yet again, because after you were done playing, you were sure if you played it again, you can get to that next level, which of course I was sure I could after playing it. And it was the most fun I had playing co-op in the game that we were already making. And the zombies, well, they're fucking cool. I mean, they looked cool, they sounded cool, and it was really gratifying when you killed them. And we thought, well, why wouldn't Call of Duty players love to play this? This is so fun. Of course they're going to love to play this. So when people are on your team playing something in the middle of the night after a 12 to 14-hour day during a crunch phase, yeah, against every project management fiber I had in my body, I let it go. I wanted to help them. I wanted this to be on the disc. I wanted our players to have this. It was clear the excitement around the studio was totally infectious, and I was infected too at that point. And this is where we made the very risky, but ultimately the right choice to follow the fun, follow the passion, and bet on a dedicated and talented team. So here's another way to look at the situation. A dedicated and talented team that was searching for new creative, and despite already a heavy workload, was going above and beyond to create something special. It was a grassroots passion project, and it infected and it invigorated my studio. And it was going to introduce a great new addition that we thought Call of Duty gamers would love to play. And it was coming at a time when we were still establishing our identity as a studio inside the franchise. And zombies showed us exactly who we were, what we were made of. All right, so that's the feel-good story, but now what the hell was I going to tell the stakeholders at Activision? In fact, the answer was right in front of us. There was no explaining them or taking them through it. It'd be like trying to concept test words for a game that would be used to solely validate whether or not you should be making that game, right? It wasn't going to suffice. It wouldn't do it justice. It would leave way too much to interpretation. They were going to have to experience it and become infected themselves. All right. Word about our new mode didn't take long, started to spread. And we started having people from Activision's production management team come over. We started in the trenches with the guys that were working, arm in arm with every day. Then we'd work our way up the org chart. And as the infection spread, the organization, one person at a time, other people in the organization, even people not on the Call of Duty, working on Call of Duty, were asking to see it. And it wasn't because they were like, at Activision, we're going to shut this down. They were like, hey, we heard this, got this really cool game mode. We want to check it out. Hooting and hollering all to a person, all of them infected. And you know you've got something when you're in the middle of this, making a game that has expectations like these Call of Duty games do, and you're in the final months. The kind of emails you get from executives have a different tenor than the ones that I was starting to receive with ray lines, like in the middle of the day, I got to level 20. And you're just laughing. You're like, they're playing the game. This is great. All right, but not everyone was a fan. In fact, some people in the franchise leadership were totally opposed to zombies and the idea of a zombies mode. And they thought it would be a disgrace to the franchise. Look, I understand how they felt. I mean, the fear of doing something so off such a successful brand is pretty much inconceivable. It was arguably irresponsible. But how could we walk away from something that was so much fun? We knew it was fun, and we thought so many people would enjoy it. We had to figure it out. Now, the marketing and PR guys, they thought it was totally fun too, but they wouldn't touch it. I mean, to be fair, how the hell were they going to market this along with the mainline Call of Duty game and just not totally confuse everyone? If you can remember back then, and you have to remember back then, there was, any attempt at trying to market a Call of Duty Zombies game would have been nearly impossible. I mean, honestly, we'd probably have been in the laughing stock. People would have totally thought that we jumped the shark. But nobody on the publishing side, to their credit, really wanted to get in the way of this because they knew it was fun. So we made a deal. Let us launch it as an Easter egg after beating the main game and the credits roll. That way it doesn't interfere with the core offering of an epic and cinematically scripted Call of Duty campaign rooted in historical authenticity. And this choice may have truly been the planting of the seed of its success. The reason for this is that I think by making it a truly out-of-the-way experience that not everyone would get, but only making it an experience that the most committed, the faithful, who played through our entire campaign experience first, they found it, they loved it. I mean, they'd already got what they bargained for. This wasn't marketed or PR. They played their Call of Duty campaign, and then they get this entirely new fun co-op gameplay experience afterwards. And the reaction was overwhelming. Fans around the world loved it. They embraced it. I mean, they embraced it as their own unique experience, and they weren't all bothered that they got all this extra content after they finished their Call of Duty campaign. And they too got infected one by one. So much so that there was a cry to unlock it after the game so that they didn't have to wait for their friends to finish the campaign so they could actually team up and play co-op. And we did that sometime eventually after launch. And we knew when we had to do that we had something special and we captured lightning in a bottle. And that was a good thing because the team was already buzzing on what they could create after launch. Fortunately for everyone involved in Call of Duty, we survived. We were successful, and we launched this game, and we were going to create new content for it during our downloadable content season. This is where the team, and I mean the team more broadly, really started to dive into zombies and make it the game that we know today. You see, when we launched Zombies, we barely had time to complete the gameplay. The fiction was barely there on the disc the very first time. Those of you who played, 4 soldiers trapped in a World War II bunker as hordes of Nazi zombies are overrunning it, testing every shooter skill you had to survive. But that wasn't good enough for the fans. I mean, they wanted more out of it, and they started crafting elaborate backstories, theories about what had happened, who they were, why we were there, and we were listening. And because we continued to develop this content on relatively short development cycles, we would respond. And herein lies one of the most important truths as to why zombies became so successful. In 2008, we started a journey that continues today with our fans of creating our zombies lore and fiction. We're constantly able to draw upon our fans' inspirations and their pure enthusiasm and marry that with our own, and we deliver them new experiences on a consistent basis. The episodic content that we were able to deliver in 2009 with World at War was so successful that by the time 2010 came around, when we were making Black Ops, it was much easier for us to convince Activision that we should make this our formal third mode of our signature sort of three games in one offering on the Call of Duty disc. But even so, many in the franchise still weren't comfortable with marketing or PRing zombies. In fact, if you can think back, Black Ops Zombies would launch without any branded PR or marketing, including not even releasing a trailer that we'd made and had ready to go until after the launch of the game. But that didn't stop us or the fans, and we treated them to a fun and surprising ending at the end of the game with zombies. And after completing the campaign, we just kept engaging with them and listening and surprising them throughout the entire Black Ops DLC season. Aside from firmly establishing Call of Duty as a co-op game, and this is our third major game mode, Zombies plays an important role in the development side for us, because it allowed us some creative freedom outside of the conventional wisdom of what you should make or what you should be prototyping for a Call of Duty game. Those characters, we gave them voices. We created them and gave them voices inside of Zombies first. Then we brought it into Black Ops, and we gave Mason a voice in first person to be able to tell our narrative and our story. For Call of the Dead, we cast AAA recognizable Hollywood talent and didn't just use their voices. We took their likeness and their performance capture and put that all together. And we did that in Zombies first, and of course the franchise has done that now very well. All right, let's get back to business here. So while there wasn't an initial desire to market or PR Zombies out of the gate, fan interest skyrocketed because of a confluence of situations. In a twist of irony, not marketing or PRing Zombies and letting the fans find it themselves turned out to be a blessing in disguise. And ultimately, it helped set the tone for how this mode would evolve. Because from a setting, a narrative, and a character perspective, fans got to find and make it their own. It initiated a kind of conversation with our fans and amongst our fans that we couldn't have planned had we tried. At the time, the phenomena that we now know as social media had literally just begun to explode. And Zombies provided Treyarch with that kind of social currency that would thrive in that environment. The Zombies development and episodic delivery of new experiences we created through DLC reflected that sort of participatory fan culture that I think TV shows at the time, like J.J. Abrams, lost. And people in our own industry, with marketing campaigns like I Love Bees, they'd started to communicate with fans around the world and strike new means of communicating with them. But Zombies was somewhat unique in the world of these big budget games like Call of Duty, in that there was a meaningful interplay with our fans prior to launching content, in this case our episodic DLC content. It was no longer a binary process for us where we were going to make this game and ship it, and players, they were going to buy it and they're going to play it, and that was the end of the story. I think if PR and marketing is about giving people the answers we want for them, Zombies in our development process just became about asking them all the right questions. So Call of Duty World at War downloadable content that continued to come turned this unlock into episodic content sprinkled with all kinds of intricately developed Easter eggs. And I'm talking true labors of love by the people who make this and true labors of love by the fans in the community who decipher all of it. And we would leave clues and even compose exclusive music tracks for them as rewards. We'd ask them more questions. we just carry on a conversation with this very passionate and engaged community. And they would go off and they would craft extensive blog posts, put up amazing websites, forum threads, epic forum threads about what was going on or what they thought we were telling them about. And of course, as technology evolved, we saw them sprout up and start to create videos and start commentating about it all. And they create live streams and they try to figure out our puzzles or show off their gameplay prowess. And what they found in our game gave rise to an entire subculture about our zombies lore, giving the mode, I think, the mystique that it carries today. One great example, though, of how zombies did infect our mainstream marketing and PR was how we chose to introduce the world of Black Ops to our fans and converse with them. Now, for those of you who haven't played the game, it's a game that's based in the primarily rooted in the Cold War, right? Notoriously ripe with intrigue, deception, spies, espionage, all kinds of great stuff. And drawing upon the inspiration of the CIA signal stations, we created this alternate reality game-inspired website prior to the game's reveal. We made it. We put all kinds of time into putting all kinds of Easter eggs and clues in it, and we just put it up there, unbranded. And the fans we started playing with our fans. They started trying to tear it apart. And it started a conversation with our fans before our game even launched, or even was announced, excuse me. Zombies taught us that not all of our fans need to have all the answers, and that some of them wanted to figure it out for themselves, and they had fun trying to figure it out themselves, and we had fun playing with them. And even today as a studio, we've grown our own social media channels, not only, of course, to share information about the game and our studio, which is, of course, important, but also to share ideas. And we believe that if you pay close attention, you'll have the opportunity to play along with us and to speculate with everyone else about what we might be telling you about. All right. So what are some of the possible takeaways you might have from this story? I think one of them definitely is, when the juice is worth the squeeze, follow the fun, even when it might seem to go against what you think you should be doing. Now, you have to be very careful, because you can totally fuck up your development if you're not careful here, folks. But if you have something very special, even if it's really risky, and you've got confidence in the team that's making it, go for it. Without it, zombies wouldn't even exist. Build social currency into your creative. Give the fans the opportunity to own something more than a game. I mean, look, to be fair, some of this was totally unplanned, right? PR and marketing's decision not to market or PR zombies gave us awesome social currency at an important time when social media was growing. But I think the takeaway here is simply being comfortable that as game makers and marketers, it's often more valuable to provide fans with questions than answers. Another important takeaway is to listen to your fans and try to develop a dialogue with them. And look, I know how tough this is, especially in the middle of a very difficult development. And I'm not suggesting you put yourself in a position where your fans are driving your development or randomizing your development. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that it goes a long way if you can give your fans the opportunity to play along. And this is where social media can really go to work for you to break down these borders and help erase those borders between your development team and your fans. And for those of you working inside established franchises or properties, zombies taught Treyarch that it's okay to touch the butterfly's wings. Just don't do it with sticky fingers. Look, even in an established blockbuster like Call of Duty, it's really easy to get caught up in the idea that it can only deliver a certain kind of experience and that there isn't room for deviation or significant innovation. Clearly there is, as long as it's in the right hands. And zombies prove to us that there are meaningful and significant opportunities for creative exploration, innovation, even in one of the most established franchises in all of entertainment. Zombies was a transformative experience for Treyarch, albeit one with a highly unorthodox development process. And it taught us who we were. It gave us the confidence that we needed to move forward at the time with the Black Ops series, right? It's a series that's built upon our own special brand of mindfuckery, right? Complete with flashbacks and imaginary scenes. I mean, only a team that had brave the unknown with zombies, could have pulled that off and still made what I just told you about feel Call of Duty. And this story, I don't think it would be complete if it weren't for the fact that zombies launched us into a world without borders with our fans. Absolutely. I mean, the conversation that we've learned to have with them continues to impact us to this day. Without them, zombies wouldn't exist as we know it, and we wouldn't have had the opportunity to make the games for them and craft the experiences that we do. And for that fact, we're eternally grateful to them. So to our fans around the world, we look forward to carrying on that conversation with you in the future. That is, if we haven't started already. Thank you.